We're coming here bearing gifts, and this is a huge gift because this is the way to do it. But we're going to bring on Carlos, and I'm super excited to talk with Carlos about his business, what he's been doing, guys. And it's truly a remarkable story because he's an investor. He works his tail off, right? He's a father. He's a husband. He lives in Florida and part of our community. So excited to have you here.
I don't know many people busier than you, Carlos. So thank you for making the time. I know it is kind of a crazy season in your world, and we're excited to catch up with you. So thank you so much for coming.
Hey guys, good to see you.
Okay, good to see you, Carlos.
Well, you were talking about Facebook groups posting, and guess what I just did in the last 5 minutes? I was posting.
Perfect. I love it.
Live time.
You realize that when you post, and I was, I'm a little freak with measuring and things, right? But you realize that that task is actually 5 minutes. If and the crazy part is, as you were saying, right? As we put this constantly every day, it's just 5 minutes. But you just need to put and reserve that time just to start posting and do what is most important for your business. Right? That's what I was actually, doing. I said, okay, I need to do this. Let me take these 5 minutes and go.
And that's how you got here, buddy. Oh, I'm so excited to dive in.
Well, and I love it because, you've now bought some of these beautiful houses with, doing these creative finance deals and seller financing and things like that. And you've been able to connect a lot of these sellers from this blue ad and how well it works and all of these things. And, it's awesome to see where you are at right now and that you're crushing it and that you're consistently working at your business. But before we dive deeper into that, Carlos, I kind of want to go back to where was Carlos before real estate, right? What was your life like? And then what was the mindset that you thought to yourself, hey, this is where I want to go?
Yeah. So, well, originally from Venezuela, right? Real quick, I came to the States last 12 years ago, and I'm still working, right? So I'm a W-2, right? I work for a company in the operation management and planning side. And, 5 years ago or 7 years ago, my head turns a little bit on, well, generation, we're not going to be able just to work for life, right? And I was working 60 hours, 70 hours per week. Right. So I got, moments of realization on understanding, where, how I can use my time differently. Right. Turning point in my career was I got a job or like an assignment for a different role that requires commute of an hour and a half every single day. So everyone was telling me, poor Carlos, yeah, you're going to that role, poor Carlos. So I used that time in that moment to start learning about real estate. So, and that's when I started to deep dive into that. That's why when I find you, online and so forth. And then we started to buy properties in a conventional way and until we ran out of money, right? So you can save money, you can, I have a W-2, I can leverage my, my loans, but up until the point that I couldn't, get more down payments, get more 20% down payment and so forth. And that's when I started to dive deep into, understanding a little more creative finance, who are the gurus of creative finance. And that's where, we find you, I found you, and then we started to connect, right? And fast forward, I'm a buy and hold investor. I manage my own properties. I work full time and I have 9 properties. And my goal, on that is just to keep growing in a way that I can transition to, from a W-2 base to, a financial freedom person and family so we can enjoy and do whatever we want. But at the same time, add value to everyone, right? On the thing that I can be, I can provide. So that's who I am.
My favorite part that you said was everyone said, poor Carlos, right? So instead of playing the victim and, complaining and getting all down about it, you turn that into a secret weapon. And you're like, nope, I'm going to, like Joe was mentioning, listening to the real estate podcast. I'm not sure if that's how, ended up stumbling into us and how we connected, but you one step at a time. And instead of being negative, you turn into a positive. And to me, that was one of the magic keys.
Well, and it's leveraging your time management because we all have the 24 hours in a day. Okay. Some of us, we're all busy and I get it. We also have a lot of distractions in our lives too. So it's easy to get sucked into some distractions, especially like social media, and like, oh my gosh, where'd that hour go? Right. But what you did was you had to drive an hour and a half for your commute. And you said, no matter what, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to learn something here besides driving, because you're right. When you put in 60 hours a week plus and you're driving and all these other things, like, I like realized there's got to be an end to this. I don't want to do this till I'm 80.
And for the people who's on the call, right, like at works today, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, so you realize that, and these were kind of my changes, right? All my life I've been working in corporate for 20 to 25 years. All my life I've been working for 60 to 70 hours. I'm still working 60 hours, but today I work 40 hours in my W-2 and 20 hours or 15 hours in my real estate business. And the way that you realize is that is, number one is you can be more effective at your job, at your day job. So sometimes you delay things, and I'm going to do this all after 5. I'm going to do this all before 8. And then when you realize to say, you know what, the things coming after 5 is real estate. It's non-negotiable. So you have to start, on realizing you have to be more productive in your day to day. Then you realize, okay, so now you have a lunchtime, right? So my lunch is from 12 to 1 every single day. Every single day I talk to people, friends. What about if out of that hour, you take 1 day or 2 days to deep dive on real estate? You're not going to lose your friendships, right? You're just going to change a little bit the way that you're doing. And then you realize that, you're going to gain a lot of hours than you can. If you put that in your book intentionally, you'll be able just to do task by task. And that's kind of we don't realize, but all of us, and then you guys mentioned it, right? All of us have 24 hours, right? The question is, how do we use it? Right. And without losing, or thinking that we're losing something, right? And that's how, I've been doing that for the last, I think, 5 years. But, funny enough, and I have never said that, but funny enough, I realized that because I did my MBA. And when I did my MBA, it was a MBA working, right? So I have to, do my MBA for 25 hours per week. And I had to work 60 hours. And my boss told me, like, you're crazy. And I had a born child with me, like my wife, we had our born child. And then that's how I realized that, you don't need 100 hours per week. You just need to, segregate and put on the slots and be productive. And then even when you're in real estate, sometimes we get into I'm going to work on the Facebook business page. You cannot spend 20 hours working on that. Like, you have to prioritize what's the most important thing you have to do in this task. Was you were saying, like, lead generation type of task. So what makes my business money today? So how do I focus my time on that? So, and that's kind of I think the exercise daily that I do, and said, okay, what's the most important thing that I need to do? What's the habits that I need to do? What's my goal this week? What's my goal this month? And then when you do that and you measure that, you realize that, okay, I got a good week. For example, I got 89% of my tasks done, but last week I had 60%. So you start identifying, okay, what do I need to do better next week to beat my week before, right? You don't need to be a Superman. You just need to be you from the last week. And then you go little by little until you get, a better habits or better daily task execution.
Well, success is all about habits, right?
Yeah.
And success is about having great time management. And these are the things that
priorities. I feel like that's what I'm hearing too, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're managing your time unwisely, then you're not prioritizing what's really important.
Well, and you're focusing on what you can do to maximize your business while still maintaining friendships, still being productive at work, to where you don't feel like one area is suffering because of this. You're just sprinkling it in where you can to still be all of a great person and all of the great workers and all of the great family man, but still get production in your business. And to that is where you obviously have excelled. And I kind of want to dial back, because like we see Carlos now, and everybody loves seeing your success, and everybody in the community loves rooting you on. And I don't know anybody busier than you, although we got pilots, we got people, all types of stuff in our program. But my gosh, you're busy, right? But I kind of want to dial back to before you did your first deal with us in our program. You had that one special session of a hot seat Where since then, it's because I'm doing one on Monday with Andrea. She's super excited because everybody wants to get Carlos. Because what we did was we had a hot seat session. I remember asking who's been part of our program for more than 30 days, hasn't gotten their first deal yet, and you raised your hand. We were doing a hot seat, and we were going to check what we call KPIs. These are the things that we're tracking inside of our business to track productivity. And so Carlos came up on stage virtually on our Zoom support call with our community, and he was very open. And can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I honestly like everything, right? Like, I was frustrated because I wanted to hit, and I was focusing a lot on, I think, the final trophy. Like, I won the house, and then I started to track, as you were saying, key performance indicators. But I was posting every single day. I was, doing my opening script, had conversation every week, but I didn't find, the lead, the deal, right? So we spoke about it, and then, you asked about, who wants to be in the hot seat. Nobody wants to be in the hot seat, but if you realize that, if you want to improve, you have to be out of your comfort zone, right? So I went to the hot seat. I remember you challenged me, right? I was breaking down, number one, the people that I was talking, right? I was talking a lot with realtors. I was talking because normally, and you were mentioning, right? You post these blue ads. There is a lot of realtors that are going to reply, right? They want to sell houses, right? And I was talking to all of them, but I realized that in my market, a lot of realtors were, responding and being very active on Facebook. So I was spending a lot of time on that. You told me switch, Carlos, switch to sellers, right? So I started to switch more to sellers, and and then you put me a challenge, right? I was doing, I think we were out of this post. I got like 6 conversations per week, and said, you have to get up. You have to get up. You have to find ways to have more conversation per week. Even you get leads, leads drive to conversations. Some of the leads won't drive conversation, but leads drive conversations. So I remember that you told me, like, you have to, you have to be able to talk to at least 12 to 15 people a week, just to be able just to have that traction. So, and then and that was kind of a challenge for me, and I get challenged, and I want to surpass challenge, right? So I started to post, I started to be more active, not only posting, but also looking at the comments, not only, inquiring, because some of these replies, you will realize, guys, that this is not, you discard sometime, but no, that might be a lead that you just say yes, or they say maybe. So you have to go to the next step and say, okay, why maybe, why yes? Or if you, like, I found my first deal, like, I just posted and I got a reply on my private message, and it was a paragraph of 100 lines. So when you go there, like, I immediately, call him, and then we started to engage in a conversation. And right after, we went through a back and forth. We engaged you, Joe. You helped us a lot in closing the deal in terms of guiding, to ask the right question and go through the deal. And successfully we closed it, right? But it was, it was after this challenge, it was after this roller coaster. And I remember that, that we got that agreement, and then it was canceled because they were, a personal discussion between couples. But at the same time, we keep consistency on the deal flow. We followed through the process, and we were able just to close it. And today, I'm happy to have that house. It's a 2023 house, brand new house, and then, and the cash flow generating more than 300 per month. So I'm really happy.
Wow. So you got a brand new house. The thing was beautiful, turnkey, needed nothing. And it really dials down to the system, because I remember I was asking you during the KPI session, the hot seat session, Carlos, how many leads did you have? And you had over 100, although majority of those were agents. And then I would talk about, like, how many calls have you had with direct to off-market seller out of that bunch? And you said, well, majority of those are agents, so not a lot. So our challenge was, in 1 week, I wanted you to just be able to talk to 5 to 10 seller phone calls within 1 week, because we did our call on Thursday night. I said, when I come back to the call next Thursday night, I want you to be able to just talk to 5 to 10 sellers, direct to sellers this week. And let's see, that's the goal. And when we started our next week's session, we always love to start off with some positivity. So we always start off with some wins. And Carlos was like coming in hot that Thursday night and had some wins. And he's like, hey, I did my calls, I hit my goal, and I was like, high five. I thought the wins were over, and they were just getting started because within that 1 week, those wins turned into that deal. That seller, that lead came out of that 1 week of you just taking action that week, right? And so from everybody witnessing that in our group, now everybody wants to get Carlosed, that's what they call it, and they want to go on the hot seat to see how we could do that. Now that is not common that you just have it turn on that quick, but sometimes when you're looking at your processes, what your day to day is, just sometimes just one little tweak, one little time management, one little thing to focus on ends up turning into some big results, because you didn't just stop there. Like, you've done a whole bunch of these deals after that. Like, something lit fire in your world, something happened, and then it's been just amazing.
Yeah, I guess like after that, what I'm doing it today, right? Like what I'm focusing the most is in the process, to be honest. Like I'm not like I'm gonna get there. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get there, and I'm not, bragging, but I'm just thinking that if I follow a process and I fix it or I build this machine, and that's what I'm focusing today. Like I'm not getting a deal every single day, but yesterday I was walking in a property that it was open to terms, good cash flow, potential efficiency plus single family home, which is interesting. So I think the more that I focus most on building this machine, I think it's gonna get you to a different level, right? So has been my focus for the last, year, like how do I get this time? I got my 12 hours per week, 13 hours per week. How do I transform these 13 hours in a productive week? And all of us have 2 hours spare every single day. We just need to find out the spot. We just need to find out where, how, right? Like and learning more. Like one tip that I'm using today is stack habits, right? So you make my coffee, right? So I had this issue on posting, right? And now every time that I drink coffee or drink water, I was drinking water and I was doing my posting, right? So you can stack habits. Every time you do something, you just connect it to an activity related, right? So, and what I do is I post either on my coffees or my waters, coffees and water. And I have to drink coffee every single day. I have to drink water every single day. So every time that you remember that, and then you can attach or connect that with a habit or an activity you have to do related to your business.
Boom. So everyone who's listening right now, type coffee in the chat. If you drink coffee in the morning, and if you drink water, write water. But who is going to commit to doing this? Every single morning when you're brewing the coffee or you're getting your glass of water for the morning, 5 different Facebook groups consistently every single day, at least 5 days of the week. And then what do you do to follow up? Because now that if you've got that down, right, you're posting every day, how are you remembering to, or where are you finding the time to now respond to those people, right? Because you just said like you're driving in the car, so we don't want you texting and driving and asking those 10 questions. So like, how did you do that next step?
So my typical day, right? So I wake up in the morning, I just drink coffee, send my post, I work, my W2, lunchtime, right? So I have 30 minutes. I look at my text and say, okay, who has response? Who has, reply? And I reply back. And my goal in those 30, 45 minutes, I'm trying to set up calls. And I need to set up calls for the afternoon. Right. So why? Because after 5, sometime I'm working in Miami. I have to drive 3 hours, right? And then sometimes I work from home. So, but after 5, I have a space of 2 hours to talk to people, right? So I'm trying to talk to 4 to 5 people per day. Sometimes, I have follow-ups, right? Like I can tell you, yes, 2 days ago I was in Miami. I drive back 2 hours, to my home, and I think I made around 15 calls. Like I was talking, nobody responded, I keep going. And I had my list on my phone. I'm not like on my screen, right? I don't need to text and drive. I just put it there. I just set it up and I just have my Bluetooth and I talk, right? I talk and talk and talk. And then out of the 15 call, I have like 4 conversations, right? Some people doesn't answer because they're busy, but others, yes. So, okay, and then you find cases, right? Like divorce, you find cases like, I want to sell my home, but, it's not moving in the market. So you start building that, through the scripts that you guys teach, you start building that momentum and understanding what's the motivation to sell, how do you approach this case? What's the best avenue to help the seller? not all the time will apply creative, not all the time will apply cash. So you start having that conversation, and that's kind of my typical day. Like mornings, send outreach, midday reply, and set up things for the afternoon at the end of the day.
Thank you. I love that. And I use your example often when I'm trying to share with people because I know how we did it. But he didn't have that long commute. So the fact that like he probably wishes some days he could have like called that many people. Otherwise he was home in 10, 12 minutes and then, kids and life and all that. But you make it work, right? Like that's the whole point of this is if you want it bad enough. And I love that you're saying that you're building the machine now and that you're really even right down to whatever how are you programming it in your phone as a list? Like that to me is fascinating.
No, so I use Monday.com management as a project management tool. So I do have a CRM, and those have the phone. So I just click and they call, click and they call, and that's and I'm a little bit nerdy on that end. So I'm starting to build reports. I got automation, reports that get to my email on Sunday about the task for the week. Did I was successful or not? What's my percentage of KPIs? Did I hit my goal or not? So, and that's kind of my breakfast on Sunday, right? Like, did I have a good week or not? Like, how do I need to improve for the following one? And I'm just preparing this in the future to have people on board and create that momentum. Whenever we have that reviews, we just have reviews weekly. We just, understand our performance of the week and improve. Just a little bit, and then if you improve one thing every single day, you're going to improve 365 things in a year.
Mention success is not accident. Success is well planned, right? It's not an accident. You don't just automatically wake up like, oh, how did this happen? No, it's well planned. It's well calculated activities. It's you taking the right necessary steps, and you don't let anything stop you. You don't let a lot of hours. You don't let the fact that you have a super long commute or any of these other factors that go on in your life that anybody else could say, well, because of that, I have a 2-hour drive. I can't do this. You actually use it to your advantage. So when we kind of started off today, we were talking about like one of the biggest things is your mindset. And if you believe you can do this, you can. You surely can, right? And then when you learn the right steps and you're taking the right action and you're finding those minutes and you're getting good at time management, and you start seeing the success because now you're building momentum. You're building more than a machine. You're building a momentum that's going to change the landscape of your family, for your kids. It's not just what you're doing. It has ripple effects for generations.
And I want to get into that because don't you have your kids? How old are they again?
They're 7.
And you put them to work a little bit, right?
Yeah. Sometimes we work, together, right? Like his name is Julio, 13-year-old. Sometimes I manage my own property. Let's go and see this property. Okay. And he asked questions, right? Like, how do you do this? Like, is this like the Monopoly game that we played the last time? Yeah. But it's in real life, right? Like, okay, so let's take a look on this, or let's do an inspection here, or let's, we're actually, we were thinking, my wife is a realtor, right? We were thinking about talking to him, okay, let's have some calls together, right? Like, and see how that works, right? Like, but it's kind of it's when he feels excited, go there, not forcing, and that's kind of the equilibrium that we're trying to do. But it feels good when you're with your kid. You guys are the example on that, right? Like when you're with your kid, you feel like this is a team effort, right? Like this is something not for one individual. It's just for we're building this together. We're putting this effort not only for my generation, it's going to be for the next generation and so forth,
Absolutely. Because I feel like there's almost a stigma of you have to separate work and family. And I'm here to just like, tear that wall down and show that no, absolutely. Especially since 2020. I mean, ever since we've been buying houses and having babies here, it's all been one blended thing. But especially in 2020, I mean, it was what it was. The kids were coming to the houses with us. There was no, separation. And I feel like that's okay. And we almost need to give permission to other people to say, yeah, get your kids involved, bring them to the houses. I know so many families that they do become closer. And then that way the kids don't feel like, oh, all you do is work, right? It's not like that because now they're bought into the vision of, well, yeah, we're building this so that we can go to Disney or we can take a trip or, one day this is going to happen. And they're like, okay, they start getting it, especially if they see the cost of things, right? As they get older.
And it's funny, I was, we had one tenant that he doesn't do electronic payment, right? So he want to pay in cash all the time. So it's funny because now, we were in Top Golf with the kids and so forth, and I did a detour to pick up the rent. And I was, Julio asked me, or no, Lucas, my youngest, where are we going? We're gonna pick up rent. And now Julio said, yoo-hoo! Like he's like connecting to like you see, chin chin, that okay, let's go and get that rent. And then I saw my wife, we started laughing, right? You see, he has that link of rent is synonymous to income, right? And then he's starting to teach the youngest, okay, what's rent? Okay, rent is when people is coming, is paying you, for the house that we have. So that creates kind of a different story, right? But it's funny because that happened this weekend, by the way.
Woo, ching ching, I love that.
Well, and it's amazing because you start getting the whole family pulled into it.
Yeah.
And we had our end of year school evaluation for the state of Florida. And my son, every year, he's 10. And I love it because they're always like, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to do creative finance and work with my parents. Like that's just his go-to every time. And, there's not too young to get him involved, right? And I love the fact that you're doing it. You get the family involved, and this is how you grow together, right? And really live that dream. So we have a lot of people watching today. And I know we've answered a lot of great questions. And we do have some folks here who they're still looking to do their very first deal. And I know that we have some, I've saw my phone go off that some of them have booked a call to kind of talk to us about, seeing how we could help them too. If somebody's, I guess what kind of advice would you give those folks if they're thinking about it? Because, some of these things that they might have questions in their head before we worked together, you probably had some too. And now that you've kind of been in it now, what did you think?
So thinking, right, now and thinking back then, I think one of the important thing is, if you guys number one, confirm if you work with a mentor, if you work with in a coaching group, it's gonna be faster. I spent 2 or 3 years reading, talking, trying to doing myself. Yes, I think eventually you can do it, but the fact that you're having someone that is an expert and that someone that is doing it, right? Someone that is closing deals, right? That's gonna give you, gain you like a couple of more, 3 or 4 more years, right? That's number one. Number two, I don't know if you know this, but I spoke with Grace before we connect with you. Speak with people that have done this before, right? And have connected with you, have worked with the mentor that you're looking for. And she was super, straightforward, clear, transparent, and I like that, right? So when you talk to people that have been, with the coach or mentors that you want to work, talk to them and ask questions, right? So that's one thing that I did. I feel good on that, and I think it complement my decision to work with you. And the third thing is understanding that this is a journey and not like at the end goal of getting one house, getting 2 houses. It's understanding that it's a marathon, it's not a run. So that's that part. I got a lot of frustration at the very beginning because I was focusing on the shiny object and so forth. But when you understand this is a journey, that you understand your why, your long-term goals, and connect that to what you're doing today, that will help you to understand that this is just one more step to keep going and avoid frustrations. And the last thing is my mantra: discipline, ask, stay consistent, do what it works. As they're saying, post and post, don't reinvent the wheel. I remember that I talked to Jenn, and the first thing that I told her is, what would you recommend? I'm starting. I know that you have a lot of students, but what would you differentiate the good people or the people has had more success or not? And you told me exactly that. You told me, hey, you just follow the instruction. You just need to recreate the wheel, follow the instruction, and then you'll see that that's gonna have some results early on, or during your journey. So that's what I would recommend.
I remember our welcome call, our onboarding call, and that question that you asked. But then I just remember hearing your story, and I'm like, you've already done some really hard things. You've come here, you've built this life, you've got your MBA, you've done difficult things. This part's gonna be easy. Just keep going and don't quit. Like you said, follow the step by step, and just be you. Because I just knew once I could get you to, were you scared to post online on Facebook at all? I forget how you were with social media at first. I don't think you were really posting much before we met.
No, I didn't have any business page, and I wasn't posting so much, to be honest. I don't like it. I didn't like it. I like more now. But I remember, I think I have 400 friends at that point. I think I have at 1,200 right now, and my business page is growing more and more. That's one area that I need to work more, right? To be honest, but it's kind of when my mind shift was with you guys, like understanding that social media is not a personal stuff. It's more a channel that allows you just to connect with more people to get to complement your goal and to complement the things that you want, right? And then that's the view that the change of view that I did, with that, right? But yeah, at the very beginning, I was, how do I do this? And I, I just did it, and I started. I need to do more, but that's one of the areas that I think I need to work more. But I did a change in that.
So what's Carlos, what's the family, what's your big ultimate goal that you want to achieve with real estate?
I mean, I want to use real estate to get financial freedom, period. And my goal is in 10 years just to be financially free, be able just to travel with my family, and then help others, right? On how, how they can create, or they can get to a financial freedom. And I guess the thing that I'm working the most is, I think my skill is around discipline and task. And I think that that's something that I can help other people to do as I understand my superpower more, right? Like I need to create more system, create more, because, I think we are here working a W-2, but we're trapped, right? Like if you're trapped for 60 years, 40 years, and so forth, and then after that, what happened? So you're going to use your 401k. Like, how do you connect that in a way that you do things that you like, things that you add value? And I think that that's my goal: use real estate as a vehicle to get financial freedom, and use my time just to add value for other people to do things, do what they want.
I love that. Well, we shared your personal page on Facebook. So hope that's okay with you, to get you more friends on there. And also, you're out of Cape Coral. Is that where you're still investing? Is that where you're really looking to grow the portfolio, or are you all over Florida? What's your plan with that?
So the idea is to stay in Cape Coral for Myers, right? But I'm moving to Miami next month, right? I already rent this house as a part of the portfolio, so I'm happy to add one more. And I'm gonna start looking into Miami. So it's gonna be either Miami, West Florida, and the east side of Florida. So I'm gonna start doing that, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get challenged from Joe to invest out of state. So so that's that's kind of the short term, is focusing on the new markets and understanding Miami. I wanted to connect with more people in Miami, okay, and to see how we can leverage not only the market on Southwest Florida that I know very well, and now understanding the Miami side. So that's my short term.
Also do get in on that too, because I love Miami. We're not far, obviously, and that's one of my favorite places where I want to definitely dive into. So please wrap me involved in that too.
Yes.
Any great meetups, like I definitely want to go. I love it.
And one last thing that I forgot to mention, but the other thing is, I realized that the Latin community, the Hispanic community, is not, I think I can add more value there, right? So I think that's gonna be my, my niche specifically, because I was actually, meeting with some people, and I don't find a lot of people talking about creative finance, and I'm probably that could be a potential. And not only that, but also you guys are doing deals with people that are sellers that only speak Spanish, and some of them are open to term, but they don't understand how to structure the deal, right? So if I think that's an area of opportunity that we can add value together, and see how we can help sellers, but at the same time increase portfolio.
I love that. Yeah, I remember that was one of the things you brought up too on our call. So it's definitely, there's a true need for it. I know, because if we don't know Spanish, so there's plenty of times where I think we've actually called you like, Carlos. And I love that about your caring heart. You're, just so wanting to help everybody, and but the patience you had for that first deal that you did talk about. I don't know if you guys caught that, but obviously he received a message, I believe. So he posted his blue ad in these groups for free. He received like 100-line paragraph. So when you see that, that's a motivated seller, most likely. And Carlos does all the things with Joe, checks off all the boxes. And then the seller and the wife, I think, were in a in a disagreement of sorts. So it was not going to happen, but then things turned around and it went back on the table. So again, never losing hope, always having that persistence. And then you kept following up too, I think. So you were really
Yes.
persistent on that deal too.
100%.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Carlos. I know you're a busy guy. But anyone else who is out there, you have questions, drop them below. Otherwise, make sure you go give Carlos a follow. Again, he is in the Florida market, and we're all definitely keeping our eyes peeled around here for some good deals and helping sellers who are ready to sell at reasonable prices.
Yeah, no kidding. My gosh, that is awesome. Thank you so much for hopping in, Carlos. You are the superstar. We'll be seeing you at the support calls. And obviously, just keep on doing what works, and you know the routine. And I absolutely love it. Thanks for coming on. And I know you're busy, so
Good work.
yay.
Everybody give a big hand for Carlos. Thank you
That's
so
awesome.
much for being here. And so happy.